Welcome to the Friendly Geordies podcast. How have we been?
Welcome.
Oh, pretty good.
Good addition. Required. Good required. Hey, Jordan,
I'm a stretchy boy.
have you been following the news? Are you happy about what they've done to Mark Latham?
What have they done?
What have they?
Didn't they just ask him
Surely
questions and then he said, no, we're not answering that?
For defecating.
Look, if that did happen, I'm very happy. The thought of someone getting a hot Carl in Parliament is
that's
a
right.
very good thought.
What is it called? Hot Carl?
It's got a hot Carl.
It's not.
You know why it's got a hot Carl?
Why?
I'll show you something.
Hot
boys. Here's a little piece
Carl?
of history for you.
Hot Carl.
Check this out.
too bad.
Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my
Because I
god.
was looking it up afterwards because we're trying to look at if the word for it is coprophilia or fecophilia. It's coprophilia. So looking it up. This is on Wikipedia. This is a 19th century character in Russia. Are you ready for this?
You gotta show it to the camera as well.
I mean, you can't see it, but... And you know what his name is? His name is Hot Carl. And he sneaks into your house and does a little poo-poo in your mouth.
Oh, is that like urban legend shit?
I think so.
Oh
I'm
my
not really
God,
sure about the law behind it. But
Wait, now that you've imparted some wisdom, let me tell you what's happening with Latham. So
Yeah.
obviously Albo has weighed in.
Has he?
Yeah, he said, surprise, surprise, reprehensible behavior by Latham. But what's happened is that under the you know how every labor leader has a portrait?
In the Parliament.
The HQ. And under Mark Latham's, it will now say,
Hooper.
in 2017, Mark Latham was expelled from the Australian Labor Party and banned for life. His actions do not accord with Labor values and fail to meet the standards we expect and demand.
For
Permanently.
life. What did he do that was so bad?
Well,
The crap.
take a big call.
Oh my god.
big Carl.
Isn't this all hearsay?
I don't know if I prefer a hot Carl or a big Carl.
Well, maybe this is hearsay, but let's be honest. Latham has been up to some shit.
Why? Because he went to like One Nation.
No, dude, he's an insane man. Am I crazy for suggesting this?
I'm calling it less insane that people say. There,
Yeah, less insane than Dan Andrews.
At
This
least,
is the world that we live in. Common sense is crazy now.
at least he's not
He
running
said
over
it.
people with his car.
No.
Unless
Instead, he's
a
beating
car is a
cabbies.
euphemism for his penis, in which case he is.
Hell
Dang.
yeah.
No, so Mr. The current accusation is that his ex-partner, he was
yeah.
emotionally, physically, and one more type of thing,
Right.
abusing her. And to be fair to Mark Latham, he's accused her of the same stuff.
We've all got skeletons now,
And
Clive.
she's accused him of having for fornicating in Parliament House, to which Mark Latham's response was pretty much like, that did not happen, and if she has a video, then let's be real, that evidence will not be acceptable because it was without my consent.
Yeah, he was saying it's without my consent in my office. If she's filmed that, if she's filmed me taking a dump, I did not give her permission.
But after saying he didn't do
Jesus.
it, if she's filmed it.
See, I just think of Parliament as like a strip club, so I'm like, it's just business as usual. You know, that's literally what I
This is
think.
what happens, Jordan. Like, and this is I always say this, and you defend it. Australian Parliament is fucking gross, bro. Like the way they are all just going at each other. It's so not civilized. You know, not every Parliament in the world does that.
You mean like the wild orgies?
You mean like sit down, boof head, I'll do you slowly, and all of these. This is straight up bullying.
Nah, English.
And
So, surely.
even like New South Wales Parliament, which is like so inconsequential.
What, that kicks off?
it kicks off hard, dude.
Really?
Yeah, New South Wales Parliament is known as the Bear Pit.
Oh my god.
It's the most brutal.
Apparently, they say
Really?
if you can survive New South Wales Parliament, then federal Parliament is a breeze for you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
See,
totally.
that's so funny because like I just assume like what can they even get angry about? It's like you said you were going to take you were going to use this kind of concrete to pave Crown Street, but look, it's a lighter kind. You pulled a quick one, didn't you? It's like
You'd be surprised how passionate people get. You really would.
You'd be
That
so-
does happen.
would.
I'll tell you this as well. This is really interesting. I can't remember the MP that it was, but New South Wales Parliament has always been a hotbed of criminality.
really.
Always. And I'm not at liberty to say who told me this, and I seriously can't remember the MP that did it, but this was, I think, in the 70s. Because you couldn't get arrested in Parliament House, it wasn't. It's kind of just like an embassy
International
or something
waters.
like that. Yeah, you've got diplomatic immunity.
Oh
in
my
there.
God.
Man, there was a guy openly dealing heroin
Amazing.
from his office, and there used to be lines of junkies in Parliament being like, "You need my fix, bro," like doing the junkie sway, waiting for him to go, "Step into my office, my resident."
Dude, Australia I think every industry in Australia is a front for drugs. Like, name an industry. Childcare, front for drugs. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
So then
Pet shops for sure.
So then my argument is, if that's the sort of environment you're going to create, then you're going to get people that shit on people.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, man. You
it's
know what
fair
else as
game.
well? You know, recently in New South Wales Parliament, how it was shown that magic mushrooms were growing in the backyard?
No.
Yeah.
But that grows out of shit, right?
Yeah.
Hence the steamy
Hey,
and
Mark
flaming.
Langer.
Yeah.
That's why it's everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
And what, they were picking it and selling it or something?
I don't know if they were selling it, and I don't remember who it was. It wasn't our friend Jeremy Buckingham, because Jeremy Buckingham was the one that alerted the Telegraph and said, there's mushrooms growing there. And then they had this hilarious like crime scene stuff around it with cops were like, "Step away from the mushrooms. These are of a dangerous and possibly illegal suspect."
Possibly fun kind.
They're all mine.
I will take under notice whether it's fun. Fuck, you sucked the fun out of that. And then, there was an MP that, like, I think he told one of the MPs before that and was like, "There's magic mushrooms here." It's just like, "I'll be back in a second."
Like, I know it's like this always happens when I'm like more than 3 days away from you guys. I just sink back into like Croatian psyche. But don't you think like most people that get into politics are just like have a mental disorder or something?
Yeah, definitely.
particularly if you're not from a mainstream party.
Oh yeah, for sure.
On one hand, you've got some dude who's taking shits in Parliament House,
Yeah.
and then on the other hand, you've got like literally bikey leader girlfriends shouting at Prince Charles.
I feel like there are some that are, but like it's either you're like Albo, you're this downtrodden sort of just like, I can't rest without knowing that like 4% of our housing is council housing. It's just like, all right, loser. But like there's that. But then the rest are just kind of like surely just opportunists. Just being like, I like yelling and arguing and I get to wear a suit and I couldn't cut it being a lawyer or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Heaps.
And
So I'm not that surprised.
Man,
I know that's a very negative perspective.
and also like
And also a lot of dumbasses that are there to start asking some questions,
Yes.
having not known what the thing they should be asking questions about is. There's a
for
lot
sure.
of that.
For sure.
But
The
Dumbasses,
fringe.
opportunists.
and
Yeah.
like an overwhelming majority of parliamentarians would be sociopaths.
Yeah.
Anyone
Yeah.
that like those kids that always say like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be the prime minister. I was like, dude, I think you're a psychopath. Like,
Yeah.
how are you not interested in fucking reptiles right now?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Like, you want to be
Yeah.
the most powerful person. You're 7 years old.
Yeah.
Like, you need to first figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's not the motivator, hey?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There
It's
is a bit of
definitely,
that.
it would be very high.
Because you have to also be like media savvy and like it's not particularly a natural.
It's a boring job as well.
Yeah, it's
That's
just not a
the other
natural disposition to stand in front of some camera and be like, I can't say this, I can't say that. I have to just repeat, just be a robot on camera.
Yeah.
Like that's not who. I don't know.
And on top of that,
I'm not saying
like,
it's not
you always-
important.
This is
But
the same thing. Anytime anyone ever says you should run for parliament for someone else, you're always thinking of the moments where they're sitting there dunking on someone on Sky News. But that's like 5% of the job.
Yeah.
Heaps of it is just sitting there in a budget question, just being like, and Big Pen expenditure was up 7%. Was that right, Mr.
Yeah.
67. All right, but it clearly says 7 down here. So is the report wrong or are you lying?
yeah,
Like, it's a lot of shit.
let's move an amendment forward to strike the 7% listing and redact that to 627. Was that 6? No, 627. Okay. Lunch.
Call for an adjournment. Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought Australian Parliament is like. But like lately, I'm
is.
thinking like it's mostly about jerking off on your colleagues' desks. I think.
It's
I mean,
a rich
look, I'll
tapestry.
tell you this, man. If you're an independent, you got a lot of time to jerk off.
I think being an
I
independent
mean,
would,
I get that.
yeah. An
Boredom
independent would be the
leads to
funnest.
certain activities.
Don't you think independent would be the funnest? Because you can just
Yeah, because you have
criticize.
no responsibility at all.
Exactly.
You just whinge.
Just criticize and whinge.
That's your job. You're a professional whinger.
Oh, yeah. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, totally.
No, it wouldn't be.
Especially to get paid like 200 grand.
Yeah, but wouldn't it,
200K.
like kill your soul.
Depends
You
what
are
kind of
a
person you are.
professional whinger.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be awful. I wouldn't like it, but I know a lot of Australians would.
Yeah.
You have to understand that is basically the psychology of Australia.
Yeah.
We just like complaining,
Whinging. That's what we do.
So there's so many Aussies out there that would, like most independents, would prefer to be doing that as opposed to like trying to get their like shoe locker franchise getting.
Which is 80% of the rest of the country.
We've spoken about this on the upload, but like I don't even mind the whinging culture. I mind how anyone that gets big in the US all of a sudden just becomes a king.
What do you mean?
Like Jordan was
Oh,
telling me this,
yeah.
Kylie Minogue before she got
Yeah.
big in the US, like people hated her.
Yeah, yeah. You have to leave. To be,
Anyone that tries to do something in Australia,
yeah.
they initially say, "What a king" or "What a queen, awesome," and then as soon as they get a little bit of success, like, "Oh, tall poppy."
Right, yeah.
But then, if you get big in the US, then you're
I know.
forever an awesome person.
It's strange, isn't it?
Someone like Chris Hemsworth
Yeah.
is looked at as dainty when he's just
Yeah.
not even that good of an actor.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's annoying, the tall poppy
Yeah,
thing.
that's.
I feel like Aussies don't really support their own that much.
no, dude.
No, not at all.
Not
They
at
don't.
all.
No, you know what we do? We do support people that are down and out.
Yeah, okay.
That's the whole thing.
True,
we love
true.
underdogs and we hate tall poppies.
Yeah, if you suck,
If
you'll
you
get
suck,
some.
you're a legend. That's
you-
the cheat code to being a celebrity in Australia. Just like
If
you
you
know,
get any
being that guy
success.
that used to say flaming on Home and Away.
Yeah, the flame
Li-
Alf.
For life.
Alf.
For life. Celebrity for
Yeah.
life. Toady, just
Toady.
because his name was Toady. Everyone's
Yep.
like, he's a shit actor and he's got a shit name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
But why is that?
I don't know.
Is there a recognition of it? Is there a recognition that that's kind of shit, or now that's who we are?
I think it's unspoken. It's just is what it is. Right?
What is
Yeah.
it?
Is what it is. I don't think people talk about it. They're like the ethics of tall poppy. Let's extrapolate.
Man, it's like everything with this country. It just goes back to convicts. That's why.
yeah.
Yeah, we think low lives are awesome. we really, really like criminals.
Yeah, that's cool. Ned Kelly.
But I think like everyone likes criminals now.
Yeah, now
That's
they do.
true. We were
Yeah.
ahead of the curb on that.
Yeah.
We really were.
Yeah.
That's who's the only people that are really idolized in Australia are sports stars and crims.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else that Australia remotely respects.
Yeah.
Chappelle Corby, crim. That's why we like it.
I like the crim
Straight
part.
up drug trafficker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Legend.
The Bali Nine would be liked if they didn't get shot and caught.
Yeah.
You know? It's like they didn't cut
But you
it.
know what's really weird?
Yeah.
You listen to the 2GB crowd, and when they were getting shot, they were just like, yeah, well, they broke the law, so you
Yeah.
do the tour.
Yeah.
So you think you should execute people here? No, but they knew.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, you gotta get caught but not die.
Yeah, then you're a legend. But if you get executed, you suck.
Well, I do not like people that get cut.
Exactly.
Losers.
Exactly.
Yeah, getting executed, you're a loser.
It's so weird.
All right, so is that it? Anything else to add with Mark Latham?
Is he in One
Is it
Nation?
an embarrassing thing for?
Not anymore.
Is it like a thing that actually causes problems for Labour, or not really?
What?
He's not in the
Mark
party.
Latham doing effed up shit.
Look, man, I remember that they were discussing whether or not they were going to take the picture down of Mark Latham.
Really?
And I was saying, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
That's way too much. Because that's exactly what the Greens do, where they just, every time someone, like, for instance, that founder that came out and was like, it's too woke, and then they got pissed off, and so they changed the history of the Greens. They've done that multiple times, to the point that it's getting quite Stalin-y and airbrushing out of history to just make this complete fantasy that doesn't resemble history at all. That's a really bad thing. But if they want to write under a plaque afterwards, he sucks and we hate him.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. Keep his picture up.
Also, like, what's the big
Yeah,
deal?
they're
No-
saying that they don't want to take off the picture because that's part of the historical record.
Exactly. Good. I'm glad that we have some common sense.
But do you-
Because don't you think, honestly, taking it down and then just, just being like, leader, Kim Beasley, blank. Then it was Kim Beasley again. It's like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that is funny. Also, I don't think like Australia will stop if a portrait isn't amended. Portrait's description isn't amended in the Labor Parliament House. I think we'll survive. I think we'll survive.
That's the other thing. Like, it's such a big deal to them.
Yeah, I think we'll survive if that burns down.
I think we'll thrive.
Right, that made my heart stop.
Sorry, this just
Now
happens.
that's the kind of green strategy we need.
Burn it.
No. It's just
Did you know
it just
that people
happens-
in that building are descendants of people that owned slaves?
slaves.
That's exactly the point, right? Because you know that the next step after that is going to be like, we're getting rid of everyone's portrait that supported white Australia. Oh, okay, so the party started with Gough Whitlam. Is that what we're talking about now? Like, you know that they're just going to keep moving the goalposts and just cancelling people.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Honestly, getting rid of Mark Latham, that definitively proves that cancel culture's gone too far.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
What?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, if it were up to me, you wouldn't put the plaque. I don't really care about the plaque. You can put that if you want. But I honestly think it should just be like, Mark Latham, leader of Labor from, I don't know, whatever it was, 2003 to 2004 or something.
Mark Latham, the man who shook the hand a bit too hard.
That's what he should be. That's what he should be known
They should
as.
just print out
Shook
his
things up too
Wikipedia.
hard.
Just print out his Wikipedia page and you who stick it on next to his fucking portrait.
Yeah, or just say, Mark Latham, famously known as the man that may or may not have done a hot car.
Yeah. I mean, that would be considered legendary in some circles.
Dude, that would make
It's legendary to me.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, this is the guy that accused me of owning sex slaves.
that's right.
And like, now he's getting accused of owning sex slaves. But like, I'm sorry, it's all cancelled out. If you
Sex slaves.
sexually shit on someone,
Yeah.
it's too funny not to give props to.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Imagine that guy's ass. God. Don't want
Yeah, I know.
that.
We were talking about it before, and I still can't think of. Someone actually did make the point. Probably would be worse getting shat on by Clive Palmer. But that's. Mark Latham is definitely in
that's
the
a-
top 5 of people I don't want shitting on
yeah.
me.
And having if Clive Palmer did shit on us, the problem is with the quantity of shit.
Yeah.
Quality probably
Yeah.
the same.
Actually, I would say that Clive Palmer's shit would be better.
Yeah.
I reckon Mark Latham has a lot of kebabs.
Really
Yeah, but
shit
Clive
kebab.
Palmer eats a lot of like Kit Kats.
That's all right.
I guess that's all right. That's better.
Yeah, dude,
Look, most of it's waif.
Yeah.
It's mostly carbs.
Yeah, it's
all
true.
right. Yeah.
True. It's basically rabbit shit.
yeah. So like Clive Palmer shit is probably better. Just
Yeah.
a larger cake on your chest, and that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder in a shower. Yeah, you're going to have to do some pre-scrapes before. At least Mark Latham's, I'd imagine, to be, kind of boggish. So to kind of go off in the
Yeah.
water.
No, we were
pretty
talking
quickly.
about. I feel like Mark Latham's. Didn't we say that they're like goat pebbles or something?
Really?
Not Mark's. No, we were saying that John Howard.
Oh, yeah,
John
John
Howard. You've heard it
John.
here first. I would prefer, out of all the prime ministers, for him to shit on me the
Yeah,
most.
because it'd be
Yeah.
tiny. Yeah.
And also, just so funny thinking about John Howard doing a hot car.
Yeah, that would be
Hang
crazy.
on a minute. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Show some patience, for God's sake.
He's gonna have to buzz his receptionist for Metamucil.
At this age, it's not that easy to
Definitely.
go straight away.
Yeah. Not telling. You have to tell me.
You don't have to miss love. All right, okay, next
He's already
segment.
there.
Next segment. I feel like we've exhausted this, and also
No.
it may go in a direction where we don't want it to go.
May.
What are you guys' views on Albanese's trip to China? They're saying that he's being too cozy with 11 Jinping. And some Indian anchor got fired because instead of saying Xi Jinping, she said 11 Jinping.
That's not that egregious.
Give it a promotion. Anyways, what do we think about that?
I think it's fine and dandy.
He's roughing up some
Man,
feathers.
I don't think he's ruffling up any feathers. He's ruffling up the Australian due to lack of hot coals that they can put on him. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that you can complain about. So they're
Well-
now complaining that he meets one of the most powerful people on earth to hammer out.
Well,
trade
not only
deals.
not only
The
did
audacity.
I
not
like
only
it.
did he meet
He shook his hand.
it'd be too hard. Mark Latham, callback. Dude, he spent like 6 days there, and it wasn't just like.
How dare he?
Listen to me.
It should have been
It should have been 5. Yeah.
He could have done it.
You're there on the weekend, mate, and that's on the tax store.
Yeah, exactly.
Spending a Saturday, getting a tour.
I guess the
You should be at
argument.
work, mate.
Yeah.
I guess the military-industrial complex argument is that he is. Didn't just go there to. First of all, their problem is how dare you meet 11 Jinping before you meet Donald Trump.
Donald.
That's
Yeah,
number
but
one.
come
That
on.
is not because of Anthony Albanese's making. He tried to meet Donald
he
Trump.
cancelled, he
really
cancelled.
tried.
Well, there's that. Second thing, they say that he not only did, what the trade or whatever the issues were, but he went to the Great Wall and he did like a full cultural tour, and that is not appropriate against a country that's preparing to invade us.
What?
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm not saying this, dude. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
He's gone off the bloody deep end.
So he went there.
The anti-China horse.
He did a bit of a cultural trip as well, where he went to the Great Wall of China. He cuddled a panda, and all of that
Haven't we
stuff.
established that
But
China's
also he's-
there's evidence that China might be doing well in the future?
No, but like the other thing is, dude, and this is kind of big. Albo
What, he had a big
had
dim
a
sim?
one-on-one private 1 hour long lunch with Xi Jinping, which is something that he
Unbelievable.
gives very, very few people the privilege of.
So what?
He-
That's good.
He is investing heavily in Albanese,
Yeah.
which is a good thing or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I don't.
that's what's
Man, all the
happening.
memes were right that Missov was looking at pro-C election.
Well, is it?
Winners of the Australian
Yeah.
election. And then it just shows Indians and Chinese people. Losers. And it just shows
A white family. Losers a white family. Keep in mind.
winners.
Keep in mind.
Hey, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Keep in mind this. Keep in mind, I saw this on a man's page who also posted a lot about chemtrails.
There's one thing you can tell from that. That man is very happy in life.
Well, lives in Lithgow, so that's your tick there. No, but like,
Okay, on a
He's been to
serious
that
note,
Macca's.
I think what
is it that crazy?
no, it's not. Okay, let me tell you what in my view is happening.
Like, just
Xi
quickly,
Jinping, first of all, we should know that
can I just?
China, like, let me just we should know that China loves Kevin Rudd, and the reason why they loved Kevin
'Cause he
Rudd
can
is
speak
because
Mandarin.
he spoke Mandarin.
Yeah.
they're
Not
like that.
well.
They're like that. If you are not native Chinese and you spoke Chinese,
That's sick.
that's sick, and they think they love you. Then there's this perception in China that Albanese is Kevin Rudd's little brother, like that they are very, very close together, which implies
Which is true.
that Albanese is pro-China, right?
We understand that, dude.
No, but what I'm saying is that as a result,
I get it now. They're
China-
worried.
China is first of all thinks of the Australian government as a potential partner. That's one.
Yes, I know.
Secondly, they are trying to portray to Australians that in this intense environment where Trump is unpredictable, there's uncertainty, they're putting tariffs on you, China is going to be a stable,
Yeah, but-
reliable partner.
But guess what? That's true.
Yeah, but the problem is, dude, Albo is playing with fire over here because he's placating the Chinese, and this has been a successful trip in that sense. But Americans, I can tell you, are fuming.
But are people not looking at how Trump is behaving now and what he's doing?
People
It's like
might be, but
it's
Donald Trump is
rogue.
not looking at that.
I know, but
Donald Trump, what Donald Trump thinks is that
Right.
Albanese, right after I told him to increase military budget and to create this new Uber force against China, decides
Send it this
to
way,
go
boy.
on a 6-day cultural tour to China.
Yeah.
And essentially, Donald Trump thinks that Albo is showing him that I've got options.
yeah, but
Which is kind of true.
yeah, but I'm sorry.
Which is a risky game.
But yeah, I'm sorry, but like if Trump is putting fat tariffs on Australian imports and exports, whatever, it's like, what the hell does he expect?
Well, it will have to remind you that you're his bitch.
So
And it's not up to you. You don't have the choice of being like, if you're going to put tariffs on me, I'm going to go to the Chinese. He's
Look,
like,
if someone-
you don't have that option, bitch.
if someone slaps you and you just talk to someone else in between slaps.
Are you that person's slave? Because we kind of are.
Yeah, but chatting to someone intermittently between slaps is not that big a deal to me.
To you. But to your owner, it's a big deal.
Well, he shouldn't slap so much. You know?
Look, there's clearly an issue between Donald Trump and Albanese where Donald Trump is essentially saying, just give me $100 billion. That's what he's saying.
That's crazy.
And Albo's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that is unacceptable to Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
I know, but like, I don't know. I'm watching the America stuff and just being like, dude, this is like, just in terms of the international stuff, it's like, surely America will just be ostracized because like, they're not behaving well. They're not behaving like allies.
Yeah, dude, but they also have the biggest military in the world.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not trying to tell you that they love you. They're trying to tell you that they own you.
Well, I don't like
Dude,
it.
America's, and they say this all the time when they come to Australia. It's like, it's not whether you can be neutral or you can be with us. If you're not with us, you're against us. And you don't want to know what we do to our enemies. They say that.
I'm scared.
Openly,
of
they
America
say
now.
that when they come here.
It's finally happened. When Bad Dreams wrote that lyric that's like, I'm sick and tired of the USA, I was like, shut up. But now, I'm getting tired.
So what do you think, Jordan? It's not that big of a deal? Aspie's not going to like screw them and there's not going to be lobbying, Whitlam style, get rid of them?
No, Christ, no. You can't for that. There's no way. If you're just opening up trade negotiations with China, look, that you will get the ramblings from Aspie. But
It's so fitting that they
called Aspie. Isn't it perfect?
the ramblings from
the
Aspie.
autistic ramblings of Aspie. You will, of course, but anything.
Dude, and they are making some
You know,
big...
if he mentions China, they'll write articles.
Now the other problem is, if we are... I don't know if this is happening, but if Albo is using this as a tactic to placate Trump, this will have bad effects.
I don't think
because
he is.
she is like, apparently Albo has gone to him and said that all of these submarines and all these maneuvers that you're doing around us, that's not okay. To which apparently, I mean, this isn't obviously clear, but the indications are she said like, okay, if you work with us, we can work on that sort of stuff too. That is not something that the Chinese say to everyone. So if they're saying that to you, that means they expect you to then give them some concessions as well. But if Albo is using this as a tactic to get concessions from Trump, we're going to end up antagonizing both, which is why I'm saying like this is a difficult game. I think he's doing the right thing for the national interest of the country. By no means am I saying that he's doing wrong, but it's still a very risky game.
Yeah, but man, we live in risky terms. Like everything that you do is going to be risky.
That's the thing. It's like whatever
dude, Ale, you absolutely said it right. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, for the country, 100%.
It feels like it is like politically stuff is just lose now. It's like you just want to lose less.
Yeah, but the argument is that political theory suggests that when there's two big players that are trying to woo for influence around the world, you can use that to your advantage.
How?
Use both of them to get concessions. A lot of countries did that during the Cold War.
But he surely he is doing that.
I know, but I'm just saying like this path is filled with risks.
Like he's probably now being like, now let's get a meeting with Trump.
And Jordan, I wouldn't, again, I don't know, but I would expect if this continues and if the American establishment starts thinking that Albo is a rogue player that wants to switch over to China, they will kick him out like they did with Gough Whitlam and supposedly with Kevin Rudd. That will happen. We are US's bitch, and we should know that.
Yeah, I know that, but I just don't think that he's crossed that line.
Yeah, I don't think he has, but he is playing that game.
Don't you think Trump doesn't even...
I think that Anthony Albanese, if there's one thing that Anthony Albanese understands, it's where the lines are.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's doing anything
And he's saying,
that
and he's saying a
controversial.
lot of stuff like he went there and he said, I'm a infrastructure nerd, and all the things that China's doing are mesmerizing.
But that's true.
It's true, dude, but like Americans hate that.
I know,
When you
but...
tell Americans, you know what pisses off Americans most? When you tell them, oh, your roads are kind of shit. You know, there's a lot of this happening.
But
And
they
you-
Saying you don't like our potholes.
but they, but they think that too.
angry.
But they think
upset
you're
at
talking
that.
But
about.
it's basically they just get upset at criticism.
Yeah.
That's it. But honestly, I think that that's changing as well.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about the
average-
establishment.
especially millennials and Zoomer Americans, they think that America sucks.
Yeah.
And they actually, this is the worst part. They think that China's awesome. It's
I-
really bad news for the
There's a
American
lot of
establishment.
Americans that are still number one, USA number one. Like, and
Yeah.
like they want to
Don't you
believe
think
that
that
they're
even
number one.
like MAGA and stuff like that think that America sucks. They all think it
Yeah.
sucks.
Well,
kind
they
of.
don't think that China is better.
No, they definitely don't think that. But if you sat there and said your roads are terrible, I mean that's
They won't say
so much
well,
of Trump's campaigning. Isn't
Yeah, well, Trump saying it is different, but like if you went to the U.S. and said like, dude,
Yeah, you're
your
insulting our
roads are a lot
country.
better than
Yeah.
like Chinese roads are way. They will fume from the inside. Probably won't say anything to you on your face because it's objectively true, but they will hate you for saying it.
Yeah, probably.
What they want you to say is like, you know, no country does freedom better than the U.S. of A. Like they love that sort of shit.
Oh yeah.
Don't you think Trump doesn't even think about Australia?
Oh, I mean, when he thinks of Australia, he thinks of that golfer dude, which is probably a good thing. You should keep
Yeah.
happy associations in
Greg
that
Norman.
maniac's head.
I just think that like Australia is kind of this like cartoon of the world, and like they're just like kangaroos. It's like yes, but treated be like good old kangaroos. Then just walks away. I don't think he cares.
Pretty much.
I don't think he
Because
cares.
you also need to know one thing, like for both Australia and China, sorry, for both USA and China, and more so for China, Australia is a very valuable place because we have everything that China doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
And we also don't have what China has. It's a very symbiotic relationship. So from the Chinese establishment's perspective, having Australia on their side will be amazing. It will be their biggest accomplishment.
But this isn't. It just doesn't seem that dramatic. We already have trade with China. It was worse under the Libs because we were like really standoffish with China. But like now it's just normalizing things. It's not that crazy.
What Albo is saying is like, you know why all of this is happening? You know why I'm getting all of this respect? Is because he implied this, is because I did something that my predecessors didn't. I gave them some respect.
That's not that crazy to me.
Yeah, I know, but like that's what Albo is saying. Is like
Yeah.
if you shit on them and like you started COVID, you are out there to kill. She is killing Uyghurs and all that stuff. Like whether it be true or not, that's a different story. But like I think from Albo's perspective is like does not serve Australian national interest.
It was always Keating's advice. Yeah. He said the only reason that we have an antagonistic relationship with China is because we have our leaders out there every day saying they are a threat and we need to stop them and we need nuclear subs to protect ourselves. I mean, wouldn't you be a bit off edge when you're speaking to someone like that?
Particularly when you're like so much more powerful than the person saying that, you know? Like,
And then also when
basically Albo's point was like a little respect goes a long way. And those are the
Which is
dividends I'm
just
getting.
undeniable.
But then also Trump just being like hitting us with tariffs, talking about maybe cutting the nuclear thing, which probably would be good for us, but he's seeing it as a like, he's not behaving like a great ally. So it's like,
No.
you
And I
know.
think China is obviously exploiting that as well, and rightfully so. Like, they are telling everyone else in the world that, like, look, you can rely on us. And not only are we a better option, we are way better. We'll give you what you need instead of extorting money from you, which U.S. is doing at the moment.
yeah, it's just like the thing that freaks me out about the Trump is like how temperamental he is and unpredictable. Just seems like the opposite of stability, you know? There's no stability. It's just like,
yeah, exactly. Well,
just
how are
random.
you supposed to placate someone like
that's
that?
what I mean. It's like,
I mean, Jon Stewart actually made a really good point about that, which is, man, he's suing Rupert Murdoch, the guy that put him there.
yeah, did you hear
He's
that?
pissed at him.
And did you?
How are you supposed to please that man?
Yeah,
You can't.
exactly. Suing
Boys.
Rupert. And did you hear he's cutting the late shows being cut because
Yeah.
Hey,
Which brings us to it.
we'll get down to that.
Oh, will
But
we?
I just want to tell both of you, I agree with you. I am just giving you the other argument. As ridiculous
right-wing
those arguments
hawkish.
are, I feel like you should still, so people know.
The thing is, I would, if Biden was in or like someone more reasonable, I would probably agree with all that and be like, yeah,
You know what's crazy? I still wouldn't.
yeah, I know, but
That is where
I probably would. But the fact that
I'm actually glad Trump is
But
there
see,
because
this
at
is
least
the
it
whole
gives
thing,
us an
man. I don't
excuse.
think that we wouldn't be in this position if Biden was there. There would just be a little more leniency if it was just a standard administration. I
don't know
understand that
if
they would
that's
just be
true.
kind of like, you have to, bend to our whims in terms of geostrategic defense and stuff. But they wouldn't be pissed that they're going to China and doing a tour of the Great Wall and saying you have good infrastructure.
I think they would be. That's
Nah,
my view.
I don't think. No
I
way.
think that this entire take is not a Trump take. This is a U.S. establishment take.
And they're not as.
Man, I just think that, like,
You know, the
US
irony
is-
of this is? The irony is that what we did, U.S. wants to do exactly that with China. But it doesn't allow us to do it. Which is that U.S. wants a trade deal with China. U.S. wants to normalize some relations with China because they're having some issues with sourcing materials that, they haven't been able to domesticate yet. They want to do exactly what Albo did, but they don't want us to do it first. They want to negotiate everything on our behalf and obviously get the biggest advantage for themselves. And she is saying, no, like, I'm not going to do it with the U.S. I'll do it with the other countries. That's essentially what's happening. So it's not that Trump or U.S. hates what's happening. They hate that we're doing it before they've done it. They want to do it on our behalf and give us a shitter deal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We're doing
Look, that doesn't make a lot of sense. In fact, now that you put it in that perspective, yeah, I withdraw what I said before. The US would still be pissed. I don't think that they would be pissed at the optics of it, though. I think that they would be pissed that we are trying to carve out a deal.
Yeah, and I think they wouldn't publicly say that they're pissed. This will be very behind the doors. But with Trump, I suspect that he will at some point make a statement saying Albanese has gone rogue. If this continues, I suspect that will happen at some point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that sounds about
Anyways, what? Okay, let's talk about the Stephen Colbert stuff. Jordan, you have your views. What do you think about Stephen Colbert getting canceled? First of all,
Bad time.
what is the reason? Is it financial or is it Trump? What is it?
Well, look, I think that they've kind of made the narrative up about it being about Trump. But I will say this. Maybe not. I'll give you... I actually am in two minds about it, because I will give you the example of what happened in Australia. It looks like what is happening to America is what we experienced under Howard, where he just got rid of any critical satire of John Howard's administration. I talk about it all the time, but you had the Glass House, which was actively critical of policy. It was really funny, really, really sharp. But more importantly, I think, sat there and actually did try and educate the population and say, Labor's a better deal and John Howard sucks. And as a Labor supporter, it was the thing that kept us sane throughout the Howard years, was that 1 half an hour saying, you're not the only person that thinks this.
Yeah.
You just had that. That's all we wanted. Anyway, then they replaced that with The Chaser. And The Chaser was, go back and watch it. I made Miss Love watch an entire season. It's nothing but they're all shit. They all suck.
Yeah.
And instead of criticising Howard's policies, we're just going to make fun of the way that he walks or the fact that he had a nap because he's old. And that's what it was replaced with. Yeah. And so it became way more shallow. And then everyone was like, oh, they're hardcore. And it was like, the only reason you think that is because it's government mandated jackass.
Yeah, because it's more personal now.
Yeah, it was
more personal. You thought it was cutting because they did stunts.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually saying things that an administration wouldn't like, it said absolutely nothing. That is the reason that was the show that was replaced with satire after they replaced a show that, after you had this left-wing probe into the ABC, that was the only show that was cancelled. And everything else just got in line. Everything from the ABC to commercial television. And look, it could be happening. I actually think that in the CBS case, you can make the argument, because it's just really weird that people even try and say, no, it's got nothing to do with the fact that this show loses 40 million a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, but don't you think that there is some truth to the idea that maybe the big companies are just bending their knee?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe. But I can also just see it as, you can't have a show that is losing $40 million a year.
Is it really?
Well, that's what they were saying anyway.
Shit.
Now, even if that's not true, what is definitely true is that the amount of ad rev that night shows make is half of what it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, but
it's a dying industry.
Right.
Don't you think, even if they replace late night with whatever the hell they do, they're not going to remake that 40 million. All they can do is they can cut the expense of the show.
Exactly.
How much money they're putting into it.
Which is what your point is. Just replay Die Hard over and over again. And you'll
My thing is like free TV has become subscription and subscription has become free TV. So back in the day, everyone was watching what was on free TV. And if you wanted something extra like Comedy Central, you'd have to buy and much fewer people would do it. But now everyone has subscriptions and no one's watching free TV. So things like Jon Stewart's Comedy Central, you can watch on binge. So that's kind of like free TV in the sense of like, you're already watching whatever Game of Thrones and shit on, and you're like, oh, fuck, Comedy Central's on it. I'll watch that. How do you watch the late night? Well, you have to fucking check into a hotel room and start watching free TV.
Yeah.
So I think the roles have reversed, which means that the revenue is going
to... As
to...
we noticed when we were in there, free TV is an option, and it's not even the first. The first option is like Netflix,
Yeah.
then Stan,
Yeah.
then Binge, then a bunch of other things like Hulu, and then somewhere in that is just a little box that says free TV.
Yeah, exactly. So the revenue is going to go. So it's not that late night is dead. I think just free TV is dead. And what's happening is that the big networks are realizing that instead of putting on, a show that requires whatever millions of dollars to produce, we can just buy rights of like old shit and just put it. So I think the point is that the primetime slot is not that great anymore.
Nah.
Yeah, right.
It's not even prime
It's
time.
essentially
really.
just like boomer TV.
Well, this is something else as well. Man, the views numbers are pretty much the same as like Fox News and MSNBC. Cable TV pulls in the same numbers as The View. It's all dead. They're all just on borrowed time.
Shit.
Maybe there was some political influence to getting Stephen Colbert kicked out. But look, man, probably just financially, it was only a matter of time.
But I think there would
anyway.
also be a point where like they're going through a massive merger, and I think they're like, what's
Are they
the
private
point? Like,
companies?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So like I think the point that their thought process would also be like, okay, not only are we losing money, but we're also pissing off the president for no gain.
Yeah.
Like from their perspective, what are we achieving over here? Like cut off the cancer.
Yeah.
Just like get rid of it.
But didn't they have to?
placate Trump.
Didn't he sue them? He had to pay 17. They had to pay 17 million for some 60 Minutes thing.
Yeah, but that's not
Yeah.
CBS.
Oh right.
Same parent company though, but he's also now suing Murdoch for billions of dollars. So that's his strategy.
Jesus Christ.
And
It's so American.
I think a lot of businessmen just don't want to fight with the president of the U.S.
It's so crazy, isn't it? Just suing. Like did
It's really also it's proven that the tactic works, which I bet you other presidents will just replicate as soon as they get into power. Look, I'm telling you, it's very similar to what Howard figured out back in the day without the suing, but Trump has figured out another way of doing it. But the thing is, I think more and more you will see these massive companies do what TV did here, which is pretty much just endless propaganda for one party. And then the establishment of the Democrats will have less and less avenues to get their ideas out. You'll have a very similar dynamic to what happened in Australia. And look, it is, I can tell you from experience, hellish. And this is another reason why I'm always like, someone needs to make the case. You know, it's all very well and good to be a rebel on YouTube and whatever and say both parties suck. But an established party that is able to gain government should have the priority of being able to make its case to the public. That's the one that's going to gain government.
I'm not on that train.
Why?
I don't believe that.
Why?
Fuck both parties.
really?
They both represent a different ass cheek on the same man.
Same
Yeah,
side of the
finally.
same coin. Ever
Real
heard that?
truth.
No, I get it, but like that also means like, dude, if the censure just becomes corrosive and shit, which kind of it's becoming, then I don't want to have this like responsibility of like supporting the less shit one. I'm gonna, if in normal times when the two parties do represent diverse sets of views, I get it. But when they've just become like the same, then I don't want to
Yeah, but
big
that's
up one.
just not what's happening. I mean, look, trust me, you will miss it when it's gone. Can you imagine an entire media landscape that is completely dominated by Republican talking points? It's going to be hellish.
Yeah.
In America as well. I mean, our public is stupid enough to buy it, let alone theirs. You know? And on top of that, they've already made massive inroads in online communities anyway. They've got all that under their thumb. it's kind of just the broadcasting giants that had these like snarky little responses of, I don't know, Stephen Colbert repackaging what CNN and MSNBC said that day. But again, I honestly think in this day and age, that is a good service to the public. You are, again, putting out the counter-narrative to the predominant narrative. That's a service. So I think that, yes, it politically, it does show that something is shifting. I'm not necessarily convinced that it was part of the entire, package. It could have been. But regardless of whether it is or isn't, that is going to be the effect of it. And on top of that, you just know that Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, the rest of them are going to start being less critical. On top of that, I'm imagining that probably MSNBC and CNN will probably start falling in line.
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe crazy. I don't know if they'll be less critical, but they will be very, very scared of breaking stories which are obviously true as well after this Rupert Murdoch case.
But this, I don't want to sound like CNN.
Like, who wants to break a story that has been verified and everything, but is very damning for the president?
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought I'd be saying this, and like I sound like CNN saying this, but like, isn't this very worrying stuff? Aren't these the textbook playbook of a fascist? Isn't it true though?
On that point, can we move on to the second set, the next segment? This is the one that Jordan's put me in, and I'm scared to talk about it as well.
What?
So while we were
bringing in my own cancel culture.
Oh, yeah. So, what, the show?
But we're going to rename this podcast "Cancelled the Podcast."
No, I didn't.
Too hot.
So Jordan was like, so while we were in Geelong, Jordan's writing his stand-up, and I won't get into what his stand-up's about, but
it's about exactly what he's talking about.
It's not what we're going to talk about, but and we both started shitting on the middle class. Right?
That's nice. Yes.
And we were both like, dude, the middle class sucks. And we were just shitting on them hard until Jordan spoke to his editor. And what did your editor say?
Good.
This is so good.
I rang up my editor and was like, man, you know what I've realized? Middle class sucks. And then my editor said, what an unexpected conclusion for a man stuck in an echo bubble that somehow fell ass backwards out of the working class into the upper class, missing the middle class entirely, speaking to a foreign prince. And like,
a foreign prince.
He's not wrong.
What do you mean a foreign
But I don't think we're wrong either.
What do you mean a foreign prince?
It's just like some upper class.
Just like talking like someone straight from the Defense Housing Authority of Pakistan.
I have to say, like, as soon as you said, like, we were sitting, like, I just had, that's exactly where my thought went. It's like, we were sitting around in a fake job, sort of like perusing around, getting accolades from randoms, basically doing shit all. And we decided, fuck most people.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you know,
especially doctors and lawyers.
Yeah. It's just such a privilege to have that position, even that thought.
Well, so we started laughing at that because of like that was kind of true and it was hilarious, no doubt.
He's absolutely
spot
not
on.
Wrong.
Yeah.
But and so he was like, and so then I started thinking like, wait, why does the middle class suck? And Jordan was like, well, think on it, and then we'll come back on the podcast. So I've been like understanding why I hate the middle class, and it took me back to my Marxist roots, and this is the conclusion.
It gets better and better.
Yeah, so this is the whole thing. All right, first thing that Ali figured out is to placate the obvious huge amounts of backlash that we will get for these opinions.
We
are going to do a classic rechanging the name of an estate tax to a death tax. Yeah. What we're going to be calling the middle class from now on is the petty bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
All right. Much like Merrick when he was on this pod. I'm done. It's just like, okay, we've peaked wankerdom. Okay, he's talking about Marx now. Okay, the petty bourgeoisie, like bullshit, random academic terms to justify their own wankdom.
Yes.
My head I actually have a headache. I just got a headache.
Fair, dude. It's going to get harder.
All right.
It's going to get worse.
Let's see how he
We understand that this is
You're self-aware.
Like dickheady
Okay,
to
good.
think. It is definitely dickheady.
Yeah. So,
but like, there's hear us out.
Yeah, hear us out. So
You have full
my
rights to
first
disagree.
initial thing about the middle class was like the reason why I've always
just
kind
gonna
of
hold
been
this-
apprehensive of them
hold this
is
fake
because they
threatening,
always
Molly.
come up with like really
Pick your-
ideological.
Pick your words wisely.
You know what? It's just very fitting for why he hates the middle class.
Well, did you know that it is considered fascism, like what's considered a middle class movement?
I mean, hey, that's not a negative to me, but yeah.
The majority of support, the majority of support for fascism in terms of numbers came from the middle class, whether it be in Italy or Germany.
Yeah, sure.
And so I got into like Marxism. Dude, this is the reason why middle class is fine. I'll tell you exactly how this manifests, but the main issue is fear. The middle class is petrified, and
Right.
that makes them do fucked up shit. The reason why they're petrified is
Well, as George Carlin said, the middle class basically exists. Sorry, the working class exists basically to scare the shit out of the middle class. That's the point.
and that's what it is. So the middle class is
Yeah,
constantly scared
Yeah.
of slipping into the lower class.
That's true.
Right? That worries them
Yeah.
the most. And this is extremely profound during times of economic instability. When there is economic instability, the middle class starts assuming
There goes my headphones, but go on. Yeah.
that we're going to slip into the lower classes as well.
Right.
So they always gravitate towards ideologies
Yeah.
that are very, very, first of all,
Reactionary.
nationalistic.
Yeah.
Because it gives them a sense of stability. That if
okay.
we follow nationalism and if we follow this, then we're going to be able to maintain
Yeah.
the semblance of what the country is. Basically, avoid economic upheaval where we slip into the lower classes.
Sure.
And so in this environment, they tend to be convinced by some really, really ridiculous points of view. Because I think the lower classes are they're not fearful. They already are in the lower class. And I don't think they even entertain the idea of becoming upper class. Whereas the middle class
Maybe.
has this thing. So the Marxist point of view is that the middle class is the only class that does not have class consciousness. The lower class is aware of what the dynamics are.
Right.
That we are serving masses. It's very difficult to get out of it.
Yeah.
Our life was condemned to just doing some really shit work.
Yeah.
And and we can't really do much about it. The upper class is constantly aware of what their situation is and how to stay in there. Where the middle class is stuck in this weird idea that, if we just somehow work harder, maybe we'll become the upper class. But in reality, they're only just like going up and down within that structure, and they don't have the idea of class consciousness because they feel that their class can be changed. Whereas the lower classes and the upper classes are stuck within where they are.
Yeah.
And so this semblance of class mobility tends to persuade them in difficult times to agree to points of view that can be very damaging for the country.
Yeah.
Dude, I swear to
guess.
God, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Australian experience.
And sorry,
happened?
one more thing. The other massive thing is that the middle class believes that the reason why they're not going into the upper class is because the upper class is appeasing the lower classes. Taking essentially money from
No.
the middle class
I don't-
and
yeah.
giving handouts.
That's the minority of people.
Giving handouts to the lower classes in forms of dole, in forms of.
Some
However, in reality, the upper classes are appeasing the middle class just as much, if not
No,
more,
way more.
than the lower class.
Way
So what
more.
is the appeasement is, for example, our property bubble. This is an appeasement of the middle class. Because what the bankers are doing is essentially allowing middle class to borrow more money than what they can and invest it into the property market and create their wealth that way. This is exactly the same subsidy as they do for the lower classes. But the middle class, for some reason, thinks that this is their birthright.
Yeah.
And if anyone threatens that, then obviously, and they believe that the reason why they are in an insecure environment right now is because the government is doing appeasement of lower classes, which is why whenever there's economic uncertainty, the middle class always gravitates towards extreme right-wing positions.
Yeah, I think it generalizing and omitting certain, groups.
This is,
of
however,
the,
I will say this: it is a working theory.
Look, I get what you're saying.
like
Trump's a
obviously
good
when he's saying
example.
this,
Trump's a good
people
example.
are always going to say like, I'm in the middle class and I don't think that way, and it's like, yes, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the general mentality.
But here's the other thing.
Yeah,
People that say I'm in the middle
maybe.
class, but I don't think that way is true. But when there's economic uncertainty, they start thinking the other way. So usually when the economic system isn't completely fucked, the middle classes tend to be economically more right, conservative, because they don't want to appease the lower classes, because they believe that hampers their own position, but socially pretty left wing. So they believe in gay rights, they believe in all of that stuff, climate change. But when there's economic uncertainty, or when there's a massive, recession or something, then all the social stuff goes away and they move more towards a fascistic ideology, which is why the reason why we're screwed up is because the upper classes are corrupt and they're appeasing the lower classes. We need to be more patriotic, nationalistic, and because they believe that this will retain our position.
Is the middle class the majority?
I believe in Australia they will be pretty much close to a majority.
Yeah.
Well, I know this. They are expanding. Yeah. The working class is shrinking and the middle class is expanding.
Well, if you
and people always use other stats to say that it's not. A very good example is they'll say things like, in the 90s, if you were on $100,000 to enjoy the same lifestyle now, you would need $220,000.
Right.
Forgetting that no one was earning $100,000 in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was a very, very good wicket back then.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of standard.
Yeah.
Right? But that's just because of inflation and things.
And
in terms of just like, the only thing that you can really say, I guess, in like your housing situation is probably worse. But even then you would have to say that like, your access to electricity and water and like the necessities and the quality of your house, even when you're building in shit apartments and stuff like that, generally is going to be better than it was back then. So, that's kind of more murky about that. But man, his point is just proven by the facts.
The petty bourgeois are just more fearful than any other social class. And that allows them to be more vulnerable to some fucked up ideologies, because we can admit now that fear is one of the biggest factors that forces us to move towards dictatorships, fascism, and all of that sort of stuff. I would even argue that communism, even though is a ideology for the lower classes, but it is very middle class ideology in its inception. And Jordan, you tell me, Trump supporters, the belief is that they're lower classes, but they're actually middle class.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely true about that. I mean, look, again, you could
if you
probably
look at
find people
India-
like hillbillies that are MAGA supporters. And
Yeah.
but like, we're talking about hardcore MAGA. Yeah. Hardcore MAGA is really like an internet movement, which means that you have free time. The working class, it was once... once when we were watching Kitchen Nightmares and I was just watching some guy flip like 4 pans at once, and I was like, dude, this guy does not have time to think about negative theory.
It's true. 100%.
He just doesn't. Like,
It's
he's
true,
he's doing that and then he goes to sleep.
And-
That's true.
That's his life.
That's true. That was my life for a bit.
Yeah.
And in contemporary examples, Modi's India, middle class movement. Turkey's Erdogan's movement, middle class movement. Milei in Argentina, middle class movement. Bolsonaro, middle class movement.
Howard,
And,
middle class movement.
well, I wouldn't. Okay.
No, well,
I'm not gonna,
facts are facts, Arlo.
yeah, okay, fine. It also happens to, but I don't think it's that extreme. But whatever. Middle class movement nonetheless. They're just way easily motivated towards dictatorships and authoritarianism.
But also on top of that, man, they do still have class interests and they do act on them. Because the Howard instance is a very good one. Hawke and Keating, I've said it 1,000 times. Huh?
I think this is just above my pay grade, but go on. Like,
Why?
It's just like, it's just funny. It's like, it's a very middle class conversation.
Why?
I agree. I actually agree with you. You know what I was telling
Why?
Because this is what you can do. You can just pontificate this fucking
Exactly. Yeah,
this
exactly.
shit,
But that's a big thing that I think is like going to
I agree
screw
with
us.
you.
I think it's going to massively screw us in
Dude,
the future.
I
What do you
check
mean?
myself as
Exactly
well.
what we're doing now. We've
Yeah.
got too much free time. And I put ourselves in that same
But it's
bubble.
not-
Like
it's-
we absolutely have too much free time.
I definitely put myself in bubble because, like, when we were when we were in Geelong, I was arguing to Jordan that our future of Australia, we should essentially. Okay, this was a private
big
conversation, but I'll
podcast.
give you like the gist of it.
The vape?
I was telling Jordan that we should essentially make all STEM university degrees free, and we should make teaching and nursing free. And we should charge every other degree international rates.
Yeah.
And we should have a mandatory HSC-like test
That's-
for teachers every year. I was saying all of
That's-
this, right?
that's-
And then, like,
yeah.
afterwards, Jordan was like, wait, why do you hate the middle class? And I was like, man, because people like me. Like, what do I know about this? And I'm
I
making
shouldn't be talking about
grand
education
sweeping
policy.
Because I started like, dude, if I was the prime minister, this is what I would do. But it's like, what a ridiculous thing for someone to say.
So entitled. Oh, I should be PM.
Yeah,
I'd do it.
This is what middle class, because I am middle class.
Fuck, it's so... Yeah,
I
totally.
should not be allowed to do something like that. Imagine if I became the dictator.
No, it's so true. It's just, but at least, you understand that, like,
And then some like upper class was like, wait, you think we don't need lawyers? And I'd be like, nah, they're useless. But he'd probably be right. Like, we need
no, I
them,
can't.
you know?
I actually,
Charge me.
exactly.
It's a very Hitler-like thing to say.
Yeah.
But I can
International
guarantee
prices.
you that if I was lower class or upper class, I would
wouldn't
not
even
be coming up with these sweeping reforms out of my ass.
On a whim.
Yeah.
At lunch.
On a whim. Yeah.
I mean, I want to like stick up for the middle class, but that's not so much I can say. Like, I guess if they're the majority and it's hard, so shut up. It's still hard, it's still not easy or something.
Man, you know what? I'm going to release a video and my editor thinks it's like quite explosive and I think he's right. But we were looking at this article that The Guardian released where they said housing prices are up and they're beating wages. And we were looking at it and we were like, Jesus Christ, The Guardian is using the exact same tactics that they've been shitting on climate skeptics for like decades, where they just highlight a winter where temperatures went down and then ignore the 200 where it went up. They're doing that by focusing on a quarter of a year where housing prices spiked. And the reason that housing prices spiked is because economic conditions are getting better. And who'd have guessed people buy houses when economic conditions get better.
Right.
So they've reported a story about economic conditions getting better as housing prices are increasing.
Right.
The reality is that wages and housing prices over the year were like dead on. And that is because Labor has put in all of these reforms to make sure that wages go up, right? They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. And I'll tell you why. This is what I was thinking. I was like, why are they lying to this degree? Why are they being so dishonest about this? Because the actual story is, if you look at it on the year, especially in most capital cities, housing prices are declining or stagnating or getting slower. Like, that is what's happening.
Right.
Why are they reporting it like this? The only way that you can look at it is, who pays for The Guardian? People with expendable income. The working class doesn't have expendable income.
And
the
with
working class
mortgages,
isn't looking at this shit, huh?
And mortgages. Dude, the other thing is...
What do you mean,
this
and mortgages?
Well, people that have mortgages are also paying... Because the working class... When we talk about like, house prices are going to get big, house prices are going to get really expensive... Dude, the working class has always been a housing commission, renter type society anyway. They don't get freaked out by that. The middle class gets freaked out by
like that whole idea of just like, I'm going to be a renter for life. It's just like, join the party. That was my entire childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I wasn't even entertained that we were going to buy a house. That's just what it is when you're poor.
In fact, like, even kids aren't like, given this hope that, one day you're going to be like, a massive landlord. They're going to be like, well, I hope you put your name on the list now, because if you get an apartment in Waterloo, you're sweet for life. The assumption is you're going to live in a housing commission for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But are you like equating like... It sounds like you're like romanticizing the working class. Like,
No,
that
no,
life
I'm not
sucks.
No, dude, it sucks. But that's what I'm saying. Like one, they don't have time to sit there and complain.
Oh, yeah, it's
and
true.
then second, on top of that, like as he's saying, they kind of just expect like, yeah, this is my life.
And that's
shit.
that's
it.
And also, don't you think that's the part calling the kettle black? Because our entire politics is romanticizing the middle class. Like, everything is about how amazing the middle class
It's
is.
a little bit different in Australia, but I'll tell you this. Have you ever noticed that everyone in American politics, bar Bernie Sanders, never even talk about the working class? They don't even use the word. They will say the middle class. And why is that? because voting isn't
majority of
mandatory
people.
there.
Oh.
Voting isn't mandatory, so who votes? The middle class votes.
Right,
Working
yeah.
class doesn't vote.
Yeah,
They
working
just
class
see it as
doesn't-
useless. They don't do it.
But isn't the idea to move people out of the working class into the middle class?
Yes.
That's the idea. But see, this is what happened. This is what I was talking about before. Hawke and Keating raised, it was one of the, no credit for it ever, again, from the middle class. No credit for it whatsoever. But they moved a huge sector of the working class into the middle class.
Yeah.
A massive proportion of the population all of a sudden became small business owners. They became tradies. You know, they had like a holiday house, all this shit, like stuff that they just didn't have before. They even had home loans. They never had home loans before. It was impossible to get a home loan before. All of this stuff. They raised them out of the working class.
Yeah.
What happens? Howard comes along and realizes, oh, the middle class is way bigger than it used to be. I'm just not even going to worry about bringing people out of the working class and into the middle class. Why would I be fucking helping those cunts? They're never going to vote for me anyway.
Right.
And so then he started doing things like, and this goes to Ali's point, giving them rebates for private healthcare, giving them rebates for private schools. So they started sending their kids to private schools and having private
Which is
healthcare.
all of which is appeasement of the middle class, but is never looked at like that. But if you
Never.
raise
But
minimum
it's just
wage,
fucking-
that's appeasement of the lower classes.
Yeah. Well, in
Yeah.
America, it's always appeasement of the lower classes. Here in Australia, they don't give a shit. Because this is why, like, you can say, oh, wages are going up at the same prices as housing, which is like, if you're in the working class and you're looking at that, it's like, finally, they're actually matching the wage growth. Finally. This hasn't been happening for 10 years. And their stated goal is to make sure that wages are increasing higher than housing prices. That's the stated goal of the Labor Party. But again, if you're in the middle class, does that matter to you? Does that matter to you at all? Like, anybody that watches the news is middle class. It's not the working class that watches this shit. So they don't give a fuck about that. And so when you sit there and say, Labor has all of these policies in place, like 5% deposit guarantee, so you only need 5% to get a house. You've got help to buy, which means that they're just going to shave a quarter off your mortgage and they're going to own a quarter of your house, but that means that your mortgage is way cheaper. If you're in the middle class, I was thinking about this. If I was in the market for a $500,000 house, like my parents would have been or something like that, it wouldn't have been possible for them. But like, you know, what is a $500,000 house now? They would be over the moon about that. They would just be like, this is amazing. This is not good news to the middle class. They don't give a shit. They could afford a $500,000 house. They just don't want to live where the $500,000 houses are because that's just in shitty suburbs. And they think they're above that. They want to live in the same suburb as their parents. And so when the middle class talk about a housing crisis, they're actually talking about an identity crisis. Like, there is a housing crisis in this country, but it is for the working class. As in, like, housing affordability literally means I cannot afford a house. That's what Labor's policies are aimed at, making sure that you can afford a house. Not necessarily one that's in Leichhardt, but you can afford one. But they want to live in Leichhardt. And so housing affordability means something completely different to them. It means I can afford a house in Leichhardt. That's what they're talking about.
They did vote Labor in.
Because it, again, plays into their
the middle
fear.
class.
Yeah, they voted in Labor for the middle class now. And why did they do it? Exactly like Ali's talking about there. Because they said, you can keep your negative gearing and your capital gains. And we're going to give you a tax cut. So it's again this same thing of like, you have to placate them endlessly.
And
they
their
will not
biggest-
think in the national
you know
interest
what,
and think,
their-
okay, well, you know.
Their biggest fear ever is a government that creates a lines between the upper classes and the lower classes. Kind of like Venezuela or something, you know, where you've got Maduro or Hugo Chavez. Essentially, the upper class represents a cabal of really rich people that are enjoying the oil wealth, but they stay in power by appeasing the lower classes. And the middle class gets sort of crushed. That is also the perfect environment for extreme authoritarianism. If in Australia, Jordan, God forbid there's a housing collapse like 2008 where, like, you know, a huge chunk of Australian middle class wealth is wiped out, I bet you anything that we will get very, very authoritarian.
Oh, yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. It's probably the only thing that's keeping us out of it is
Yeah.
keeping the housing bubble going.
Exactly,
That makes a
yeah.
lot of sense. But look, man, I think when you look at it, the analysis of it, it's like, it's pretty undeniable. And again, why are people moving away from the major parties? It's because they don't actually need these things like wage increases. They kind of just need, as long as things stay economically the same as what they are and they're getting trotted along in this way, they just vote on like, I like animals. No, I think there is too many migrants and just vague thoughts like that. They can just afford to vote for these things.
And I think there's also a misconception that every time the government talks about tax cuts, that it's the really rich people that want this. And I was like, I'm sure, obviously, the really rich people will get the most amount of money out of it because they earn the most amount of money, so their tax owing would be the most. But dude, they're not gonna enjoy an extra $10,000 or $20,000. But the middle class loves that shit. So the tax cuts are always for the middle class, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, like, they will give out massive tax cuts to the elite, and I think that that's mostly more in the realm of corporate tax cuts that they care about, not actual personal income tax cuts.
And also, really rich people know that even if there's tax, they know how to get out of them.
Yeah,
they have very, very intelligent people working for them to get out. The middle class doesn't have that, so they really do enjoy an extra $500 at the end of the year. It makes them like, oh, maybe I don't have to move out of Leichhardt, that kind of thing.
What I will say in defense of the middle class is, I think that like a lot of their jobs are heady jobs. And so as a result of that, it kind of has this weird ever increase. This is probably all exacerbated. They do have this ever increasing anxiety that is made purely because of their jobs, which now are mostly like, it's what I was talking about before, right? Middle Ages, 15 people on the land for every one person in the city. That's everyone from the king to the blacksmith. You needed 15 people on the land to support those people there. Then the Industrial Revolution comes along. You've got one person on the land, one person in a factory. It was just 1-to-1. That was your working class. And that was the people, the jobs. Then we moved all of our jobs offshore. Now we have this romanticism all the time that Donald Trump would buy into, and you hear it here. And look, Future Made in Australia, absolutely great idea. It's going to bring back a bunch of manufacturing jobs, but again, you're going to be needed to have high technical skill to know those jobs, so it will require retraining. And also on top of that, it's never going to be a 1-to-1 thing, right? On top of that, you need one person on the land now for 200 people. So mostly, what are these people going to be employed in? Email jobs. It's just going to be sending back and forth passive-aggressive emails to one another being like, just regarding last week's spreadsheet, did you also include document A to that? Like, that's mostly what you're going to be employed in. And look, to be fair, that job does suck. Like, it does. The thing is, like, you sit there and you say, oh, we want the factory jobs back. It's like, dude, you don't want your arm getting melted out of an iron smelter. Like, you don't want that job. You think you want that job. You don't want it. The jobs that are coming back in manufacturing aren't going to be like those jobs anymore, right? And it's going to employ a tiny amount. And, like, those jobs do suck. And I will say that a middle-class job sucks, but it's kind of just like a head fuck. And I think that is, like, increasing... This probably is like the mental illness epidemic. I honestly think it's just mostly the fact that you're kind of just sitting around playing these. You know what? I honestly think about it like, it's like French aristocracy used to, what do? They kind of just sit there playing these stupid little political games to go up in like a hierarchy that doesn't really matter in the court. That's a fucking office job now. That's all you're doing. You're just playing stupid little politics games in the office. And they do. They fucking send you insane because they're fucking annoying. And so, I think that is something that is just, I do have empathy for that. That's a bad, annoying job. But again, I think that at the end of the day, it kind of just makes you short-sighted and not really care about the national interest. Now, again, I will put this in the cushion of there are a lot of people in the middle class that definitely do care about this. But you have someone like Scott Morrison going into a bar and saying, what's your whiskey? What whiskeys do you have? And all the working class is like, you're going into a bar to get whiskey?
That's not that crazy.
Sorry, not a bar, a pub.
Right.
To get whiskey.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a middle class thing. Because that is a big voting block.
I was going to say, I think you should blame Howard more than the middle class, but that he got in through
by
the middle
placating
class.
to them.
Yeah.
And what did he do with that? He eroded the nation's institutions.
Exactly, yeah.
But it didn't matter as long as he kept the welfare going.
Yeah, that's if he didn't get in.
Because the thing is, like,
if he didn't get in, then your argument would be like not accurate. But the fact that he got in so long, it's like, well, kind of, at least the majority wanted that. So
That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they've made that very clear from now on.
Yeah.
I've said it 1,000 times. The pillars of Australia is you leave housing tax concessions alone, you leave Medicare alone.
But also,
That's what we
but
want.
I think he fucked it more than people had even expected. You know, he created the bubble. He created more of a housing bubble than anyone thought it was even possible. And now it's kind of too far gone. You know what I mean? It's too far gone.
Yeah.
I feel like if Howard was never in, the story would be different. You know?
Well, that's the whole thing. But
like the psychology of people, not just, you know what I mean?
yeah, but the thing is, like,
But
Hawke and Keating raised enough people into the middle class for them to be a block to vote for it. You know? And it shows that if they really cared about this stuff, they would have just kept voting for Hawke and Keating, so more people would have been raised into the middle class.
That's true. That's true. That's the one thing that it's hard to argue against. It's like, well, they voted. But what I think is it was almost like misguided selfishness, where it's like too much of a good thing. They're like, yeah, we'll just keep getting like more tax rebates for more houses and more houses, and it's like now like you fucked the country. It's like, you know what I mean? And I think if people would go back, they would be like, we shouldn't have voted for him. At least not the second time or the third time. You know, I think they regret it. Because
again, I think that the people in the middle class that got it and understood
boomers now,
they would sit back. I don't even think they'd think it's a mistake. I think there would be people in the middle class the whole time that were thinking, why are we voting this dickhead in over and over again? But you have to understand, there's enough dickheads out there with boats in their houses that wanted him in.
I guess.
That's the class.
While I was doing some of that middle class stuff, I stumbled upon this book called The Political Man, written in the 1960s. I want to read like a little bit of it. The author wrote, left-wing extremism has its basis in lower classes and the working class, while right-wing extremism and fascism originates from the socioeconomic middle class. He says, explain the election success of the Nazi Party in 1930s as a reaction from the Mittelstand section of the economy composed with the medium-sized business, small and medium-sized business, exactly as the Trump phenomena that you were talking about, and relates its analysis of contemporary analysis of extremist and anti-democratic movements to the middle-class society. He added a new type of extremism of the left and right and explained fascism is typically a middle-class movement. I'm just trying to portray what I'm trying to say.
No, I mean,
I'm getting the information from. Yeah.
Hey, if Batman said it, it's got to be true.
And it's like there's so much written. A lot of it is Marxist literature, I will admit, but there is so much of literature about why the petit bourgeois suck ass.
But don't you think?
What's the comment saying? Let us know. But yeah,
But don't you think you're all?
Oh, I'm not reading the comments. Sorry, I was just reading the.
Yeah, tell us what they
Don't you
think. Because
think-
I'm interested. Because again, we're thinking on this.
Yeah, we're
this isn't
thinking
our final
on this.
conclusions, I guess.
Yeah,
make it
I
clear,
think too. Like, there's a danger in like romanticizing whatever the sort of idealized, you know, commie like, you know, like what do you call it? Utopia is, you know. As well.
I'm not romanticizing that though.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like,
Yeah, because I think sometimes that's like this pie in the sky where it's like,
I think
only or whatever, you know.
I guess what we're saying is that, like it or lump it, every class has its own interests, and those are the middle class's interests.
Yeah.
I think
guess
that's more what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, I mean, they're interesting points for sure, and I think it is definitely true, especially of boomers. I mean, it's just how they are.
Yeah, look, I mean, someone's saying, yeah, the top 1% is cool, guys. There's going to be that. But we're not talking about, what about the bottom?
Yeah, you love the bottom, don't you?
Yeah, dude, the bottom's where it's at.
But that's the whole thing. It's just like, I think that this is the point, right? Like you always...
I can put you in the bottom. Just give me all your money. I'll help you.
Well,
you always just...
here you go.
Yeah.
Now you are. Yeah. You've got all the money.
I think like generally in politics, there is a propensity to always look at who's above you and be like, fuck them, they need to be punished.
Well,
right?
someone
very, very rarely does anybody think the person down needs to be helped.
Yeah.
That very rarely happens. Like, again, the HAF was a perfect example of that. You know, like the Greens were trying to get renters to think you have been fucked over. That's why we are blocking these public housing things from being built that were supposed to shelter people that were from domestic violence homes and, you know, like were homeless. And they were sitting there saying, you're just as much of a victim as these people. You understand?
So you think
and
that
you can do that.
But they run on being like for the working class socialists, right? The
yeah,
Greens.
but it's all words. We're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the actual actions of what these people do.
Right.
It's again like it's a fashion statement to sit there and say like I'm for it, but like at the end of the day, would you vote for it?
Well,
I mean, I
wouldn't.
know a bunch of my friends because as soon as you hit your 30s, people do end up getting houses, and they say, and credit to them, they're just like, I voted Labor, but I'll tell you, in the 2019 election, I did vote Labor in the 2019 election, but I'll tell you right now, it was the first time that I ever looked at that ballot and thought, it's fucking hard to put a 1 next to it.
Yeah.
Because that's just what happens.
Yeah, but
it's just what happens.
Yeah, but it's been designed
Jordan, okay, we've
that
got
way
two questions.
now.
One of them-
It's too late. It's too far gone, the housing crisis.
Two questions just on this. Someone's asking, I was under the impression that the middle class is shrinking.
Yeah, I know. Now, I would say that like there is this idea that the middle class is shrinking when you look at it from like historical standard, especially in the United
recent
States.
standards.
In the United States, you can absolutely make that argument. You can make the argument here because it's just like expendable income is reducing. But if you look at it in terms of like access to education, access to healthcare, access to like good shelter, access to a good job, and all that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of just like these things are just they're more amorphous than what they used to be before.
I mean,
think that
it would be
what you're,
very
like,
hard
mainly
to.
saying is just like it's also this thing of like my living standards are going down a little bit, which is true because like global economics are kind of more fucked than they used to be. That's definitely true, but it's still just like, man, you know, middle class now is very different to middle class in like our parents' age, our grandparents' age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also like if you take a longer perspective on this, in recent times you could certainly argue that the middle class is shrinking because of like, you know, inflation, housing prices, and all of that stuff. But you cannot argue in the last 50 years that the Australian middle class has not increased. It's grown. Like it's would be an understatement to say that it grew a little bit. It grew
Massively.
to the point where it's the majority. Like that's how much it grew. Anyway, second question, Jordan, is it costs like 600, 700K just to construct a house. How do you lower housing prices when the actual cost to build them is so high? So they're saying that the construction of a house costs a lot of money, and even if you know, you went to a shitty suburb or whatever, it would still cost a lot of money. I have an answer to this, but if you want to take the charge.
Well, yeah. Look again. You can say that, but you can also build houses for $300,000.
Exactly, that was my point. It's like, dude, the idea that you're saying it costs $600,000-$700,000 to build a house is such a middle class thing to say. Obviously, for a nice house that you want to live in, it'll cost that much. But do you know how poor people live?
Yeah.
Like the idea that it costs $600,000-$700,000 of building material to them means ultra luxury. Like it would be. Dude, people live in houses, construction, everything included, $300,000. Everything included. $600,000-$700,000 house. I'm not denying that it takes that much money, but that is a very nice house.
Yeah.
And that is a house for a middle class person.
Yeah. There's that. Also, on top of that, I will say that a lot of that is because there is just a labor shortage in this country, which is a long-term thing that is getting fixed with like free TAFE and all that shit. I would also say that, yeah, materials have gone up and they probably will stay up forever. But it's mostly just that point, which is that once you have had a taste of that life, which again was throughout the Howard years on borrowed money, you know, like it was just he gave out all of this middle class to raise people, middle class welfare, to raise people's expectations to live a lifestyle that isn't real, like I was saying before, isn't really a middle class life. You know, it's more an upper middle class life on borrowed money from money that should have been going into public schools and public hospitals. And so now everyone expects that this is middle class existence. And it's just like, you know, at some point things have to give.
Shill Bill says middle class turning into authoritarian makes sense because both are driven by fear. I don't know what the both is, but thank you for paying $5. I love you. No, but like, that's exactly right.
But generally, what do people think? Like, just
Look, I think we'll have to like examine it later. But like Jordan and I said, this is a working theory. We just both intrinsically hate the middle class, and I think we're trying to justify why.
I'm not on this train. I'm not on this train.
But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. for this podcast. We appreciate it, and sign up to the Up Late so that we may enter the middle class. Otherwise, see you guys next
Want
week.
that
Take care.
$600,000 house.
We're in, bro.